Hello, everybody. My name is Salim Reddy, and this is my photo essay breaking down the Simmel reading. To begin, my first picture is downtown on 16th Street Mall. I decided to take a picture of some of the stores here just to kind of reflect the concept of division of labor within a urban environment, particularly the money exchange and the metropolis being the center of that commerce. In the background as well, you can see the bank, which I think kind of reflected that money exchange aspect of the urban environment or the metropolis. I also thought that a Simmel quote that went along with this picture from the reading would be in regards to the Walgreens in shot because they do sell a variety of things. It really ranges. There's a lot of miscellaneous items, food goods, as well as medicines. But the following quote that I think kind of sums it up would be: what is essential here as regards the economic psychological aspect of the problem is that in less advanced cultures, production was for the customer who ordered the product so that the producer and the purchaser knew one another. The modern city, however, is supplied almost exclusively by production for the market, that is, for entirely unknown purchasers who never appear in the actual field of vision of the producers themselves. So, to kind of sum that up, I feel like a lot of the things that you would see inside the Walgreens, obviously, when you go in there as a customer or consumer, you're not going to see who's actually producing that. And the person that's actually working there is not really even going to know the producer, like the person working at the checkout desk. So, I just found that to be pretty interesting. And I thought the photo kind of summed it up well. The next photo I chose had to do with the concept of the importance of punctuality and calculability for the metropolis in regards to the exchange of money as well. Uh, of course, with the exchanging of money, it creates more of a necessity for an efficient environment. In order to do that, we gauge it by using time as a measurement for all sorts of things. On the right hand side of the shot, you can see the times for the trains, people on their morning commute on the left hand side as well. Traffic can ultimately disturb the natural flow and the time necessary for a workday in the modern metropolis. The following quote that I felt summed this up was the following: in view of this fact, the lack of the most exact punctuality in promises and performances would cause the whole to break down into an inextricable chaos. If all the watches in Berlin suddenly went wrong in different ways, even only as much as an hour, its entire economic and commercial life would be derailed for some time. Even though this may seem more superficial in its significance, it transpires that the magnitude of distances results in making all waiting and the breaking of appointments an ill afforded waste of time. For this reason, the technique of metropolitan life, metropolitan life in general, is not conceivable with all of its activities and reciprocal relationships being organized and coordinated in the most punctual way into a firmly fixed framework of time which transcends all subjective elements. So basically, to kind of analyze that quote for a second, to me, I felt the picture explained it because on the right hand side, you have those times for the trains, just indicating to people and stressing like how important it is for the fixed framework of that money exchange economy in the metropolis. Moving on to the next slide, a shot of a Pepsi delivery truck. The reason I chose this one was to relate to really the eradication of that barrier between uh, the producer and the person buying. And there's no better example of this than like a huge Pepsi truck coming to deliver all sorts of sodas and waters without an actual like personal order being sent to the Pepsi company. It's being sent indirectly from that CVS pharmacy on the right hand side, but there is no real direct exchange, and that kind of I also feel contributes to ultimately the metropolitan blase attitude because there is such like a over stimulus and over production and just everywhere you go it's just consumption and mass. um, so in order to kind of deal with this, I feel like a blase attitude definitely does start to get formed. segueing into the next slide with blase attitude, I felt that this shot here kind of explained the simple concept of a protective organ being established by the metropolis dweller. On my morning commute, when I got on the train, everybody was facing in the same direction, making sure to avoid pretty much any eye contact. More than half the train had headphones in, myself included, and it really just made me think of how even on like public transit there is such a protective barrier amongst everybody, because in order to really talk to everybody it would be so mind numbing and painful to, like, if it was a small town situation. The following quote I felt really summed this up. The mental attitude of the people of the metropolis to one another may be designated formally as one of reserve. If the unceasing external contact of numbers of persons in the city should be met by the same number of inner reactions as in the small town, in which one knows almost every person he meets, and to each of whom he has a positive relationship, one would be completely atomized internally and would fall into an unthinkable mental condition. Um, so, I mean, really just an elaborate way of saying you would go crazy if you tried to talk to every single person you came across in a city, because there are so many people, so naturally you develop a protective barrier. And then finally, the last slide, I think all of these really culminate into a blase attitude. All of them kind of contributed to a personality which is really almost cold and calculating, and has to be very punctual. It's almost like robotic in a sense. So I decided to take a shot of. This is post rush hour traffic, but there still is a slowdown on 225 here in this shot. But I think it really just represents the blase attitude. I really went with the black and white tone as well to kind of just draw it out of all the color and really give reference to that. And I think it helps to blur the distinction between the cars too, because with the black and white now, everything just really looks like a whole like caravan of similar cars. It's hard to really distinct fully. So the following quote I think coincides with this. The meaning and the value of the distinctions between things and therewith of the things themselves are experienced as meaningless. They appear to the blasé person in a homogeneous, flat, and gray color, with not one of them worthy of being preferred to another. This psychic mood is the correct subjective reflection of a complete money economy, to the extent that money takes the place of the manifoldness of things and expresses all qualitative distinctions between them in the distinction of how much. To the extent that money, with its colorlessness and its indifferent quality, can become a common denominator of all values. So a lot of these people, I'm guessing, are probably commuting to work. I feel like most of the traffic that's on the road in a metropolis area in an urban environment, especially in the earlier parts of the day, is really on the road for commerce or money exchange reasons, whether it be going to a job or going to the bank, or, filling out a variety of paperwork. And I think this shot just really sums it up, showing everybody kind of in their same protected bubble in their car on their commute, and it's all just gray and boring and blasé, to be frank. Um, Sorry for the run on. Thank you all very much. I hope you appreciate it.